Feeling brand new, feeling brand new, feeling brand new. Got me feeling brand new, feeling brand new, feeling brand new, feeling brand new. Yeah.
What up, YouTube? It's your boy, Rzd Reacts, aka Jus Raised, and we gotta talk about this latest episode of JJK, bro. Tokyo Colony number 1, part 5. Let's get into it, you feel me? Now, I'm not gonna hold you. Megumi for sure. Megumi for sure. First of all, this is a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the episode, go watch the episode, then come back and watch this. But anyway, Megumi for sure beat the fraud allegations after this particular fight between him and Reggie. Man. Not only is Megumi a crash out, but he's a well-calculated crash out. Bruh, first of all, the episode starts right with his domain expansion being casted, and Reggie is able to use a simple domain to counter it. But Megumi's domain expansion, because he's not too well versed in barrier techniques, he can't close his domain. So he has an open domain, but because it's in a gymnasium, it kind of forced it closed. But because his domain can't actually close, it just gives him a buff, and he's able to use like 120% of his potential in his domain with his different techniques and stuff like that. And through the process of their fight, he is giving Reggie the business. And it still baffles me that Reggie is wearing an outfit made out of receipts, and that's his curse technique. I'd be pissed. If that was my curse technique, I'd be pissed. But shout out to Megumi for countering his counters, even though Reggie has some fire counters. Reggie kind of figured out his technique a little bit, and was able to realize that whatever he stores in his shadow, he takes the actual weight of that on his actual body. So he drops 3 vehicles into his shadows, and Megumi is trying his best to hold tight to make sure that he doesn't pretty much pass out from the weight of 3 vehicles in his shadow. And as they're talking and as they're fighting, the narrator is just going through a list of everything that's happening. So you really had to lock in this particular episode to like really catch up. If you're watching it subbed, you really got to lock in to read everything that's being transpired, as well as watching the animation. But yeah, that joint was crazy. Megumi was able to use Max Elephant, drop it on Reggie, so they were kind of at a stalemate to see, at a battle of attrition, to see who was going to give out first. Reggie was holding Max Elephant, thought he was going to be able to pull out his trump card, and one of the bones of his leg snapped, and he ends up falling, or something snapped, and he ends up falling because he got up walking perfectly fine when they were fighting later. But something snaps, he ends up falling into the shadow, and it looks like the sunken place. The way he's just continually falling, there's no air in there, there's no water in there, he's just falling. And so Reggie ends up, because he dropped the vehicles in the shadows but never gave the vehicles a command, he was able to save himself with one of the vehicles, which lessened the pressure on Megumi. But his trump card was he summoned a house to drop on Megumi. Of course, that would have been way too much weight, and Megumi probably would have died. And so Megumi disbands his domain expansion, and Reggie wakes up in a pool of water being choked out by Megumi, and Reggie's able to kind of get him off of him and make it back up to the top of the pool. Realizes this gym was like a community gym, so they had a pool in like the basement area under where they were. And so because he dropped the house, they fell through the floor pretty much into the pool. And so Reggie gets out, his whole outfit's soaked. Megumi steps out and he's just like, I bet you can't use them receipts now with with them being dressed like that. And Reggie was like, yeah, well, I bet you can't summon any of your Shikigami anymore either. And Megumi was like, all right, fair point. You know what comes next. So they proceed to give hands to one another. Beautifully animated sequence of them giving hands to one another. And then in the midst of them giving hands to one another, the demon dog snatches Reggie's whole collarbone, and just Reggie just pretty much drops to the floor, because now he has a whole hole from like his collarbone to like his chest, and yeah, he's just bleeding out as Megumi is asking him pretty much what's his connection to Tengen, and Reggie's just like, oh yeah, I do remember them. But I don't really have a connection to him. He's just like, look, man, I'm just a spectator. I'm not really cool with Kenjaku like that, but I'm gonna give you all my points because I think this is gonna be funny, and I think this is gonna make everything a little more interesting. So he gives his points to Megumi before he passes. So Megumi gets 41 points on top of the 5 additional points that he gets for defeating Reggie. And of course, once he defeats Reggie, Kogane lets his partner in crime, Hazanoki, know that Reggie has passed, and he's still fighting Takaba. And he done blew up Takaba so many times, and Takaba just keeps coming back unfazed, unscathed. And he's like, yo, what is up with this dude? Like, how strong is he? And Takaba's just sitting there, just carrying on, being the fool and the comedian that he is. And his curse technique is actually the comedian. The narrator breaks it down that anything that he finds funny actually becomes his reality. That's part of his curse technique. And the problem is the potential in that curse technique is it could rival somebody like Sadara Gojo. But the problem is Takaba knows nothing about the details of his curse technique. So he's pretty much just freestyling everything and figuring it out as he goes along. Hazanoki ends up just withdrawing from the fight and walking away once he finds out Reggie died. And we see Takaba ask for his points, and he just kind of disappears after that. Then we transfer vantage points back to Megumi as he's walking down the girl that was working for Reggie. And we pretty much the way they animated the scene was actually done very, very, very well. It's such an odd scene. She's running for her life down some steps, down a hallway, gets stopped by Demon Dog, and Megumi's behind her with his blade that he killed the dude with earlier, before he fought Reggie. And right before he has her cornered, and right before he's about to deliver the decisive blow, he decides not to. He hears the sister's voice tell him to not do it, and so he just walks away, cuts the corner, and passes out because he didn't have any more energy left. And as he passes out, we see a feather fall on top of him, and it's Angel, the person that they were looking for to pretty much unseal Sadara Gojo. And so we see her pull up on Megumi, and then we cut to Yuta's colony, the colony that he has entered and been in since the start of the Cullen Games. And we pretty much get the breakdown on these 4 tyrants, these 4 strong curse users, these sorcerers with curse techniques that are super strong, and it's kind of giving them like a 4-way stalemate. We got a cockroach, we got a girl who can manipulate the sky, we got a dude who's called the Cannon, and then we got some old Asian guy who has like 2 Shikigami that work for him, that kind of patrol his area, and they're kind of like all in a stalemate. They all have close to 100 points. One had like 91, one had like 77 or something like that. And we see pretty much as the narrator is explaining what's going on in that colony, we see that the stalemate has been broken because Yuta has now killed the older Asian guy. And so next week, I'm assuming we're going to be seeing Yuta and what's been happening in his colony. And man, I know the fight and Yuta finna get active. And I'm just excited because the main character, JJK, has returned. My guy Yuta has returned. I'm excited. I'm excited. Shout out to Yuta. Shout out to Gege Akutami. Shout out to the real main character, you feel me? He's returned, and we get to see what he's been doing all this time since everybody else has been in Tokyo Colony 1. I'm excited to see what's going to transpire. I know we only got a few more episodes left of Season 3, The Cullen Game Part 1. I heard rumblings that Part 2 might be delayed until 2027. I'm hoping if it is delayed until 2027 that it drops first thing 2027. That would be dope. But that might be asked for a lot. But anyway, this particular episode, I give it a 10 out of 10. I give it a 10 out of 10. No notes. Absolute cinema. 10 out of 10. This, first of all, Chimera Shadow Garden, Megumi's technique looks phenomenal. The way he's able to just pull Shikigami out of thin air, it seems like, out of every shadow, every crevice, and they're just working in tandem, and he's just going ham, and the little boost that it gave him for 120% potency, like, he was going crazy. Like, had he fought anybody else other than Reggie in that joint, they would have been packed up immediately. Like, but the fact that he had to fight Reggie, and then the way the fight ended, the way it transitioned, the way Reggie was countering Megumi, and then Megumi was countering Reggie's counter, and then they were just going back and forth, and then to end in hand-to-hand combat, and them throwing hands, and then Demon Dog comes out of nowhere and just pretty much snatches Reggie's whole collarbone out of his body, was just chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Yeah, no notes, man. 10 out of 10 for me for this particular episode. Seeing Yuta get active, seeing what's been going on in his colony was dope. Seeing that Takaba has one of the dopest Gersh techniques ever, but he don't understand it, so he can't really use it to his full potential. It's just like that actually makes sense for his character. But let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite part of this particular episode, and how do you feel about what we're about to see with Yuta? Are you excited? Are you not excited? Do you feel like this episode deserves a 10 out of 10? Do you agree with me on the rating? Do you have your own rating? And my final question. Did Megumi beat the fraud allegations? Did he beat the fraud allegations? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell, so that way you can be notified anytime we drop a new video on the channel. Like I said, we've been doing these anime reactions every Friday for JJK, and then the reviews every Saturday. So tap in with your boy. Stay tuned in, stay locked in, and never forget, it's free soul to the soul free. Let's get it.